Speaking from the Department of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences, Tennessee State University, Nashville, USA. Before starting this presentation, I would like to apologize to you all for not making this presentation live because of my sudden change in my travel schedule. Only happened last night. Apart from this, then I would like to thank the organizing committee, SIMSAT, then Dr. D. Prasad, the convener, and Dr. Shantos, the chairman of SIMSAT, for inviting me for this presentation. The content of my talk is listed here in this sequence. Initially, I'll be focusing on the need for e-sensing techniques, then understanding the biological smelling, the different sensor types and their technology, electronic nose sensing techniques and equipment and their basics, then data analysis, pattern matching systems, which is very essential to understand the e-sensing techniques. Then applications. Obviously, the e-noses and e-sensing techniques have a wide variety of applications in food, particularly, not only in food, in many other areas. But in this presentation, I'm going to give some examples from spices, followed by the limitations, errors, and advantages of using these e-noses or e-sensing techniques, then the conclusion. So e-sensing techniques are many, particularly in food science and food technology area. There are three main equipments: electronic nose, electronic tongue, and electronic eye. These are the cutting-edge latest technologies which are being used in analyzing the food quality, particularly in sensory quality, because in sensory they deal with aromas, taste, and color differences by using human panel. But by using these instruments, we have several advantages. In this slide, you can see the electronic noses are being used in variety of food applications, starting from grains, bakery products, meat, and fish. In grains, maize, barley, oats, there are many electronic devices, including Alpha-Mass packs, MOS, Cyranos, and BCMs. They can detect fungi, aflatoxins, and other adulterations in grains. In bakery products, they can find out the fungi, bacteria, yeast, and many more adulterations which are being used in bakery products. In meat, bacteria, salmonella. In fish, we can find out the bacterial impact. Not only there, in milk and dairy products, they can find out the aflatoxins, yeast, and bacteria. In processed vegetables and fruits, the e-noses are being used to find out their bacterial infections, fungi infections, followed by yeast infections. In drinks, beverages, soft drinks or wine, alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverages, they can find out the bacterial impact followed by yeast. Why we need e-sensing techniques? Because it has many advantages. For example, we need fast, reliable online quality control for continuous monitoring to ensure consistent quality, which is very essential for industrial environment. Then instruments will give the results in numbers, in numerical numbers. When you employ human panel, they can give their sensory verdicts in terms of numbers, but they are not absolute numbers, only relative terms. But here, by using instruments, we can have the absolute numbers. Then we can establish international standards from the e-nosing or e-sensing techniques that is easily understandable when you export or import commodities. Whenever you have lack of facilities for sensory analysis, we can use these e-sensing devices like electronic nose, electronic tongue, and electronic eye. Non-availability of trained panel. So in sensory analysis, training is one of the critical part. Whenever you don't have the facility to train people, we can employ these e-sensing devices. Time and cost are the constraints. By using these instruments, we can save time and cost. The only initial cost will be high, but after that, when you try to use routinely, then the cost may come down. So these are the two constraints involved in e-sensing technique. This slides gives you the overall biological senses and what we can perceive, how the instruments can replace those biological senses, and what are the parameters you can get it from there. For example, by using our eyes, we can measure color, shape, and size of any food material in terms of LAB. So obviously, you know, L indicates lightness, A red to blue, B means yellow to green. So in terms of numbers, we can fingerprint the color. Like that, we can measure the texture in terms of force, time, and distance by using texture analyzers. An aroma and odor can be fingerprinted by using, classically they use GC or GCO. GCO is nothing but gas chromatography alpha-photometry, and the latest technology is electronic noses. By using sensors, we can find out the odor or aroma quality differences coming from different samples. The taste perceptions, traditionally we use liquid chromatography or HPLC. Similarly, like electronic noses, there are the other equipments called electronic tongue, which again based on these sensors. Then hearing acoustics can be captured by using acoustic devices, where we can quantify the crispness or crunchiness coming from the sample while masticating in the mouth. Okay, electronic noses. So I'm going to focus only on the electronic noses. Due to the lack of time, I'm not going to cover electronic tongue and electronic eye. It is very essential to understand the biological smelling in our human being systems. The organ which is responsible for our smell decoding or smelling is called the olfactory bulb, which is located just behind your nose, just behind your brain. You can see here, which is indicated in red color. They are called olfactory bulb, olfactory nerves, olfactory epithelium, and mucus. These are combined together called olfactory system, which is the organ responsible for decoding the smelling. If you smell any sample, which can be flavors, off flavors, odors, aromas, anything coming from sample or from an environment, we can detect by using this mechanism, which is indicated at the bottom of the slide. So the odorants from the samples will enter into the nasal cavity. From there, it will dissolve in olfactory mucosa. Then by the olfactory receptor neurons or the activation receptors, the message will be conveyed to the central nervous system, to the brain. So from brain, ultimately which decodes with the name and the smell, and it compares both and identifies the particular odor. This slide gives the comparison between biological smelling and the e-nose. Biological systems often serve as models for new technology. The electronic nose, called e-nose, got its name because it operates exactly like human nose by containing a large number of sensors. So as far as receptor is concerned, in biological systems, the neurons will be replaced by a sensor array. The olfactory bulb replaced by the chip. Then the pattern recognition systems, brain, is replaced by computers. Then the overall recognition by the computers and pattern matching systems can combine together, will be used to get the information from the samples or to identify the particular volatile or samples. This is the picture of a commercial electronic nose. This particular model is called FACS. Earlier in the 90s, this FACS particular model was introduced with the 6 metal active sensors. Then later they have improved with the 12 sensors. Then in the 2005, they have improved the model further by putting 18 different metal active sensors inside the machine. What it means, the more number of sensors will give more reliable and repeatable results. You are seeing here a picture of a commercial electronic nose. This particular model is called Rackless. This is being produced from a company from France called Alpha Mass. This is being used worldwide, uh, which has many advantages, which has inbuilt software for decoding the smell. Then it has sensor descriptors as inbuilt software. Inside the electronic nose, we have many sensors. Uh, the popular ones are displayed here. The first priority is the metal access sensors, which has many advantages and disadvantages. They have wide spectrum of responses, depends upon the sample applications, very high sensitivity, then more durable compared to other sensors, easy to replace, and cost less, inexpensive compared to others. The electronic nose, introduced by the Alpha Mass company earlier, there were 16 metal oxide sensors and has a cooling system with the air pumps. In this slide, you can see the picture of metal oxide semiconductor pit, then quartz crystal microbalance, then conductive polymers, how these sensors will look like. These sensor types were used in the 1990 models. In recent models of electronic noses, where the sensors were replaced by the GC columns. So these particular sensors were almost obsolete now. There are many different types of sensors and their working principles are different. I have listed here some few examples starting from metal oxide sensors. Basically, they work based on the principle change in resistance and impedance. Conductive polymers, again, working on the principle of resistance and impedance. Electrochemical sensors working principle depends upon their conductance and intensity and voltage. Acoustic sensors, typically they are called quartz crystal microbalance. Which again working on the principle of mass and frequency shift. Then colorimetric sensors, again depends upon the temperature differences. Then optical sensors working on the optical properties. This slides gives an overall view, overall perception about the different types of sensors. Basically, the popular one I have selected here, metal oxide sensors, conductive polymers, and quartz crystal microbalance. Obviously, metal oxide sensors are very low and medium selectivity. Then sensitivity are very high. Then medium disruption time. On the other hand, conductive polymers are very high sensitivity in humidity, medium selectivity, shorter in shelf life, then lower, which means by using these conductive polymer sensors, we cannot analyze samples which are high in water. Then the last one is quartz crystal microbalance. They are dependent on humidity, again, medium to high selectivity, then quick disruption time. So compared to these three, quartz crystal microbalance are very high in cost. The cheaper ones are metal oxide sensors. Then in terms of their selectivity, lifetime, humidity, disruption time, and sensor drift, we can compare metal oxide, conductive polymers, and quartz crystal microbalance. There you can see the metal oxide sensors are very high in lifetime, which means it can range from 18 months to 36 months, almost 1.5 years to 3 years, which is very cost effective sensors compared to quartz crystal microbalance between 9 to 12 months, then conductive polymers between 6 to 9 months. It depends upon the sample nature also. We have to select the particular sensor type. For example, when you are analyzing samples which are high in water molecules, or the samples are high in water content, then you cannot use conductive polymers. Then you have to go for metal oxide sensors. Then if you want more quicker desorption time, then you have to select quartz crystal microbalance. So it depends upon the sample nature and conditions. You can optimize those properties to select a particular sensor. This slide gives an overall view of the different type of sensors, namely quartz crystal microbalance, conductive polymers, and metal oxide sensors in terms of their sensitivity, which can range from pp to ppm parts per million, and their selectivity. These two characteristics are very important, depends upon the sample. So you can see here, metal oxide sensors are very sensitive. At the same time, quartz crystal microbalance are very selectivity. So selectivity, if you are on compromise, then you lose sensitivity. So in electronic nozzles, these two characteristics are optimized, depends upon the sample application.